begin then. It's raining hard? Oh, it's blocked. Should I just ring the bell here? Okay. Please join me in Gashok. Namandabs, 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 namandabs. Good morning, everyone, or hello for those who are out east. Thank you all for joining our Sunday service for January 31st. It's nice to see all of you again, and we'll begin this morning's service with a moment of silent meditation, followed by a recitation of the name of the Buddha. So when we're sitting quietly, if you could try to concentrate on your breathing and follow your breath down, and then when you breathe out, follow the breath out. And we'll sit quietly for a little while and then recite the name of the Buddha or the Onenbutsu. Nomandobs, 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 nomandobs. Next, we'll have the reading, and I'm going to bring it up on the screen so that for those of you who don't have it, we're going to start off with the Vandana Tisarana. Yeah, you see it on the screen. So where it says all, if you could repeat when we get to the section that says all. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. Dhamma saranam gacchami. I go to the Dharma for guidance. Sangam saranam gacchami. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namandavs, namandavs. Next, we'll be reading the Golden Chain of Love together, and it's on your screen for those who don't have it handy. Golden Chain of Love. I am a link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. In gratitude, may I keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living being and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that what I do affects not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also those of others. May every link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namandos. And now we'll have the sutra chanting. We'll be chanting the Sambutsuge, which I have on your screen for those that don't have it. Some stragglers joining, but we'll begin the chanting now. Namandavs, 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 namandavs.
shushokewu jindai zenne shobutsu ogai gujinjin no kugogai 무묘욕은 세상여무 닌너시시 진덕무려 그근고다이 지혜지며 고묘이소 신노다이셈 강가사붓 자이쇼 가도쇼지 미우게닷 으세조이 가이니조지 녀세사마이 지혜이조 고세이토그붓 의여시가 이사이그그 이사다야 대시우붓 야그센노그마 무료나이쇼 신여고자 그여이사이 시도쇼붓 은여그도 겐쇼응약 인여거자 쇼붓 세가이 부가게 무시세즈도 고묘시쇼 헨시쇼곡 여세조지 이진난요 료가사붓 고그도다이치 고시기며 도조조셋 고그녀나요 니무도서 가도아이미 도다즈이사이 지모라이쇼 신네즈조조 리도가곡 게라그안노 어부즈시며 제가신쇼 호즈간노히 리기쇼쇼욕 집보세서 지혜무게 조려시서 지가신교 계려시시 쇼그덕즈 가교조지 닌저게 나마
Next, I'd like to ask you please join me in the reading of the English translation. Sambutsuge translation, Praises of the Buddha. Your face shines in great splendor, boundless, wondrous dignity, such a greatness of your light beyond all comparison. Brightness of the sun and moon and the shining money jewels, when compared to your brilliance, seem to us like blackest ink. Tathagata's countenance transcends all comparison. The great voice of awakening resounds throughout the 10 quarters. Your precepts, learning, effort, meditation, wisdom are virtuous beyond all compare, ultimate, supreme, and rare. Your deep meditation has fathomed all the Dharma sea, to the limits and the depths of all things the Buddha teaches. Ignorance, anger, and greed, the world honor one has none. Like a lion among men, measureless your great virtues. Vast are your great virtuous deeds, your deep wisdom is profound. Your radiant, luminous light shakes all the world's foundations. When I become a Buddha, equal to the Dharma King, I will transcend birth and death, liberating all beings. My giving, discipline, precepts, patience, and effort, meditation and wisdom shall be supreme, unsurpassed. When I attain Buddhahood, everywhere fulfill my vow, bringing peace and tranquility to all beings and doubt and fear. Though there are myriad Buddhas beyond measure, beyond count, and great sages numberless, like the grains of Ganges sand, I will honor each of them equally, accepting none. Even more importantly, I will seek the supreme way. Even though all Buddha worlds are countless as Ganges sands, even though all lands and realms are boundless without measure, yet my light shall reach them all and illumine every place. Such shall be my perfect work, such my power infinite. When I attain Buddhahood, my land will be first and best, place of practice, transcendent, its people sublime and rare. My land is like nirvana, beyond all comparison. In my sincere compassion, I will enlighten all beings. All who come from the 10 quarters to be born into my land will be pure, filled with gladness, peace, and great tranquility. O Buddhas of the 10 quarters, this my true revelation. In this way I've made my vows, and I will strive to fulfill them. Buddhas of the 10 quarters, with your wisdom unimpeded, may I always call on you to reveal my intentions. Though my body undergoes so much pain and suffering, I will persevere and strive patiently without regret. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. So once again, welcome to our Sunday morning service. You know, it's funny, I was just thinking as we were chanting, what are the goals of Shinran Shonin and his subsequent teachers, including Renyo Shonin, was to have Jodo Shinshu Buddhism in people's houses. And when I think about through this pandemic, all of you, how many times have you chanted in your house now? Probably a lot more than you ever did before. So in fact, thanks to the pandemic, we are actually getting the Jodo Shinshu teachings into the household, in your daily life. So I think there's something good to be said about that. But this morning, you know, I wanted to talk to you a little bit. I've had a number of people ask me, you know, where do I get the inspiration or where do I get ideas for my Dharma talk? And it really comes from numerous sources. And you know, part of it, to be very honest with you, is out of necessity, because I have to give Dharma talks every Sunday being a minister. I can't just stand up here and say nothing. So part of it is because of my job. But because of my job, it makes me reflect a little more, I think, on our daily life. And as I was thinking about this, I was reminded when I was a student in Japan, I had a professor by the name of Fugen Sensei. And his father, who had passed on before I actually went to Japan, was probably one of the more eminent scholars of the 20th century. His name was Daiei Fugen. And he was not only a scholar, but he was a great Jodo Shinshu Buddhist teacher. And there's a story about this Daiei Fugen when he was young. Now, this is going back into the 1800s. And he was, after he had graduated from school and he was still in his 20s, he was invited to go and give a Dharma talk at a local temple. Now, this temple was quite notorious because the members there, they were very devout followers, but they were also very critical listeners. So it was well known amongst the Jodo Shinshu community that the members would be listening with a critical ear, and they would jump at any opportunity. If a minister made a mistake or something, they would be there to make sure that they knew about it. So Fugen Sensei had the opportunity to go to this temple to give a Dharma message. And still being very young, it is said that he was very nervous when he got there, and he could sense the membership looking at him very critically as they listened. And so he was feeling quite unnerved by all of this. But suddenly everything changed because there was an earthquake, a sizable earthquake that happened. And immediately the members left the hondo, the worship area, and they ran outside to be safe. And when they came back into the hondo, after the earthquake had subsided and they all started coming back into the hondo, to everyone's surprise, there was Fugen Sensei standing at the lectern, waiting for them to come back in. And Fugen Sensei, he said that he not admonished them, but he said to them, he said, before coming to this temple, I was told that members here were very dedicated, but also very critical of the senseis who come here to talk. Despite the fact that your understanding of the Nembutsu teaching may be quite deep, at the sign of a slight earthquake, you all forgot about Amida-sama and ran out of the hondo in fear of your own lives. Nobody stayed behind to protect Amida-sama. This is the true understanding of who we are. When even a slight happening threatens our lives, we will forget everything just to save ourselves. This is why Shinran Shonin called us beings full of blind passions. And apparently this message really struck the chord within the listeners, and it was said that they all became very big fans of Fugen Sensei after that. But afterwards, apparently Fugen Sensei mentioned, I heard this from his son, that what he had not mentioned to the members was that when the earthquake happened, it wasn't that Fugen Sensei was brave or anything, but he said he was too scared to run outside, so he ducked under the lectern, which was the closest thing to him. So he was under the lectern during the earthquake. But what it was showing here was that he took that opportunity as inspiration to listen to the Dharma and teach the Dharma. So anyways, getting back to where we get our inspiration from, it comes from all different sources. And the other day I had I guess it's a little over a week ago, I had an email. I noticed Maya Maruno was on joining us this morning, but she sent me an email of funeral service, a Jodo Shinshu funeral service in Japan, in northern part of Kyoto. But this was a funeral service for a pet, a dog. And there's a Jodo Shinshu temple in Kyoto now, where this young minister there, he paired up with this company, and they're conducting funerals for pets. And it's becoming, it was a news item, because it's not something that has traditionally been done. And I began thinking a little bit about this, having funerals for pets. And, traditionally in our Buddhist tradition, in Jodo Shinshu, this is not something that we normally do. And you have to actually see the evolution of pets to understand this. Because when Jodo Shinshu was founded by Shinran Shonin, 900 years ago, 800 years ago, 850 years ago, pets or animals were seen to very differently than they are today. I mean, some of you even, when you were children, probably if you had dogs, you probably recall them being roped up outside in a doghouse outside. I'm sure at that time there were very few people who actually had pets sleeping or dogs sleeping on their beds with them, or they were considered as animals. And in fact, when we look at the various realms of existence, there is a realm called the realm of, well, it starts with the hell, hungry ghosts, and then it says beasts. And so pets or animals would have normally been in this level of beasts. And then you have hungry ghosts, then you have the human level, and then above that they call the heavenly existence. But back in the day, you would have seen animals would have been considered in this classification of beasts. And therefore, they were not considered able to listen to the Dharma, the teachings. And so that's why, obviously, they didn't have funeral services for animals. But today, as we see the progression of how we treat our pets, they have indeed become part of our family. They are family members. There was a couple that my grandparents were close friends with, Mr. and Mrs. Okada. If any of you remember Mr. and Mrs. Okada from Vancouver, you'll know that they had this dog, and it wasn't a cute dog by any means. It wasn't big. It was small, but I remember this as a child. It had bowed legs. It was a black dog, had bowed legs, and this snarling face with teeth coming out the side of his mouth. And his name was Teddy. And I was always afraid of Teddy, and I'm not the only one, I'm sure. Others were as well. But to Mr. and Mrs. Okada, Teddy was their child. They didn't have any children of their own. And they spoiled Teddy. In fact, he ate better than I think any of us did. I think she made him steak and stuff like that as well. But you can see by the way they treated that the pets are indeed a part of our families now. And so having these funerals seems almost like a natural progression. But in the Buddhist tradition, there is also talk of equality of all life. And it reminded me after reading this or seeing this news piece of an incident I had many years ago now when I was still minister in Toronto. I was invited. Things were a lot different back in the 90s, I guess. The government actually had money to spare because the provincial government, or no, it must have been federal. In Ottawa, I was invited to a symposium of religious leaders, and there's a government arm that was dealing with organ transplants, organ donors. You know, when you have your license and you sign the organ donors, fill out the form. Well, they had the symposium, and they invited religious leaders from throughout Canada to go to the symposium, and we discussed about perspectives from different religious perspectives on this. And so each of us were given a period of time to make a presentation, and I gave them the talk about King Shibi. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with this story of King Shibi. King Shibi was said to be a very compassionate and wise ruler. And one day when he's walking in his royal palace, this dove comes flying into his sleeve and asks him for protection. And the whole idea was that the dove said that he's being chased by a hawk. And so the hawk comes flying by, and King Shibi speaks to the hawk and says, how about I get you some food from the royal pantry in exchange for the life of this dove? At which the hawk says, well, I can only eat fresh meat. So it can't be anything that's been previously killed. So King Shibi says, okay, well, I will give you some of my own flesh in return for the dove. So he gets his guards to bring out a scale, and he cuts off a piece of his arm, and he puts it on one side, he puts the dove on the other side, and the scale starts moving, but the dove is heavier than the flesh, his arm flesh. So he cuts off flesh from the other, it's kind of gruesome, but he cuts off flesh from the other arm and puts it on, and it's still, the dove weighs more. So he takes some off his leg and he puts it on, and this continues on for a while, till finally, with his last strength, King Shibi places his whole body on one side, and that's the first time that the scale balances. And so what happens after that, the dove and the hawk turn into bodhisattvas, and King Shibi is returned back to his full self. But it is a lesson that King Shibi learns, that up until the point that he threw his whole body on, he was equating the weight of the dove with the weight of his meat. But what he didn't realize was it was one life for one life. The preciousness of each life is what he was being taught through these bodhisattvas. So I gave this talk at this organ transplant symposium to show that, sometimes when we talk about organ transplants, we forget that we're dealing with an actual life. We look at it, we just think of the organs as pieces of meat, if you will. But in fact, we're talking about full lives. And so after giving this presentation, an Anglican minister came up to me. We had a break, and he came up to me and he said, that was a very interesting talk, but he said they have a little different perspective in his belief. He said, you can put all the animals in the animal kingdom on one side of the scale, and you could put one human being on the other side, and the human being will outweigh all the animals of the animal kingdom. And I thought this was a very interesting comment that he made, but at the same time, I thought, boy, I'm glad I'm a Buddhist. But anyways, so the point here is that all life is equal and all life is precious. And so therefore, having these funerals now for pets, if we look at it from that perspective, it makes sense to have them if we cherish them as a precious life. But, getting beyond that, after having seen this news piece, it started making me think about our temple here. And we came up with the idea, we're going to actually have a pet memorial scattering garden where people are going to be able to come and scatter the ashes of their pets. But along with that, so that came about because, to be honest, I'm a lazy person by nature. And I realized, I thought, well, we could have funerals here for pets, but I was afraid that we might get more requests to have funerals for pets than we have requests for funerals for our members. And I didn't want to have that happen. So we're going to create a pet memorial, and once a year, we're going to have a memorial service for all pets, all animals. But so the inspiration came thanks to this one email that was sent to me by Maya. So inspiration for Dharma talks comes in our everyday life. And in fact, for all of us, when we listen to the Dharma, when we listen to the teachings, it is constantly expressing itself or sharing itself with us. So as long as we are attuned to that, or open to that, we can hear the Dharma. And just like Fugen Sensei, you can take that instant moment and change it into something very meaningful. So I wanted to share that with you this morning, and I thank you all for joining us for our Sunday service. And we'll close this service with the recitation of the Nembutsu. So please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. If anybody has any good Dharma talks or experiences that you wish to share, please, you can either email me and I'll incorporate it into my Dharma talks, or if you want to, email me and say, I'd like to share that at a service sometime, and I'd be more than happy to have you come on and share it with others. So.